So, after much speculation, Patek have officially launched the Cubitus, their first new watch line since 1999, and oh my goodness, is this contentious. Which is strange because the internet is never divisive, it's always a place that allows for nuance and balanced discussions. But here's everything you need to know about this newest Patek. So the Cubitus collection has 3 models. The reference 5121A, this is the one I see being the most popular, being in stainless steel and time and date only. The 5821/1AR, two-tone stainless steel and rose gold. And the big daddy, the 5822P, so platinum case material, grand date, day, and moon phase. You really can't talk about the Cubitus without talking about the Nautilus and the history of Patek entry-level sports models. These are the clear next evolution of the Nautilus, the grandson of the Naughty, if you will. Every 20 to 25 years, it feels like Patek reevaluates their entry-level sports line and updates it. With the Nautilus being released in 1976, then the Aquanaut in 1997, and now this, feeling like a new interpretation of the entry-level model, but with a clear lineage from the Nautilus. As I said before, I think the 5821A will be the most popular of the 3, as it feels the most like the 5711. Stainless steel case material, horizontal embossed dial with a sunburn olive green effect, and a Nautilus-style bracelet. The case proportions are really interesting, so the diameter, measuring from 10 to 4 o'clock, is 45 millimeters and a thickness of 8.3 millimeters. Square and rectangular watches always have an interesting sounding case size and can't be thought of the same as circular watches. And the dimensions are usually given length by width, a la the Santos de Cartier and the JLC Reverso. So it's a bit weird how Patek is given this information. It's hard to tell how it will wear. From the pictures I've seen so far, it seems to wear larger than I'd like, and it seems to wear a little bit larger than the Nautilus. As more information comes out, I think we will get a better idea of how this wears. Powering this watch is the caliber 26330 SC, so the same movement that is in the time and date Aquanauts, the 5811, and the 5626 Calatrava as of the time of filming. If you're not a massive Patek movement geek, this one is identifiable as the Nautilus movement that finally had hacking seconds. One big difference with the Cubitus movement is the finishing, and this is something I don't like. Comparing against the 5811, you'll notice the rotor finishing now has horizontal striping rather than circular striping. It actually doesn't look like striping. From the pictures, it looks like a weird machined pattern to match the dial. Overall, I really think it cheapens the look of the movement. Now, I know it feels small, like who sits around on a Friday morning complaining about movement rotor finishings, but this is what Patek is about. People who love Patek love finishing and details, and with this retailing for £35,330, I think you're allowed to scrutinize these kinds of details. These are the details you're paying for. Moving on to the two-tone stainless steel rose gold, everything else is the same as the 5821A, just in bimetal, with the case bezel crown and center links being solid gold. The stainless steel and two-tone are only available on a bracelet, which is truly integrated and cannot be swapped out for a strap. This retails for £52,480 or around $61,000 USD, which is an insane price for what this is. Sometimes being a watch collector desensitizes you to what is expensive, and I'm definitely someone who needs therapy and rehabilitation for what I find affordable and expensive, but this price, even for me, feels like a punch in the gut. And lastly, the most complicated, 5822P. There's so much to unpack with this specific model, I almost don't know where to start. Okay, so the most noticeable feature is the grand date at 12 o'clock. My mind immediately jumps to a lunga unzona date windows, but the Patek grand date operates from 2 separate side-by-side discs, meaning they will always be the same height or on the same plane. 1.2 Patek. The new grand date, moon phase, and day pointer are adjusted through little pushers. There are a total of 3 pushers on the case to adjust these complications, with the crown only being used for winding and setting the time. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the little longa ones use pushers as well, but the normal longa ones use buttons. So, 1 point to longa. And the date will need setting 5 times a year: September, April, June, November, and February. Something that will be very noticeable for all Patek lovers is the baguette cut diamond, where the diamond is usually placed on platinum watches. To my knowledge, Patek have never used a baguette cut diamond on their platinum watches for that specific diamond placing. Maybe this is a nod to the Cubitus being square? I don't know, but it's cool. I could riff on this for a really long time, but I'm not going to because I don't think anyone cares. But it's just a cool little detail. Now, I really like the movement on this one. If you're a long-term subscriber of the channel, you will know I'm a big fan of a micro rotor movement. Once again, it's got that kind of garage door horizontal striping, but it feels a little bit less horrible because the rotor is so small. This reference retails for £75,690, or about $88,000 US. Patek Philippe makes 72,000 watches per year, and that number will remain the same even with the Cubitus. Apparently, Thierry said he will ask retailers to allocate these to new, younger clients. I'm really curious as to what new and younger is in Patek land, so we'll see where these end up. So I knew right away I would be making a video on these, not just because it's hype and people are talking about them, but because it's important to me to be a part of documenting this new line. This is the first time Patek Philippe have released a new line in the 21st century. This is their first line since 1999. That's not a small thing. For me, personally, Patek occupies this really special place in my heart. It is the brand I compare higher horology brands against. It's the tippy top of mainstream higher horology. So for me, this isn't small news. Let's do a quick breakdown of what I like and what I don't like, starting with the good. Let's start with what I like. 1, I've kind of always had a thing for square and rectangular watches, so I dig the case shape. 2, this feels like the necessary evolution of the Nautilus, and it feels like it has already existed in the Patek catalog. It slots in perfectly to their modern catalog. 3, I like that they use the updated time and date movement with hacking seconds, which is huge for accuracy nerds, but kind of expected at this price point. 4, I love the baguette diamond on the platinum. It's a small detail, but a fun Easter egg for Patek nerds. 5, I think this is the right launch at the right time for them. They need to inject some youth and some vibrancy and excitement back into the brand. And I think this will do that. Or at the very least, it's got people talking for right now. And Patek needed that. And 6, I just generally like these. I won't be going out to buy one. It's not my favorite watch of all time, and I'd still pick the Nautilus over this all day, every day. But I see who it is for, and I hope this brings a freshness and a new generation of people who love Patek. Now, what I don't like. 1, I feel hesitant about the case proportions. In the pictures I've seen of people wearing it, it looks big. I think for the price, these would have to wear a lot more elegantly than the Santos de Cartier, and from pictures, it just looks a bit clunky. I think the bracelet taper is a bit too severe for the bulk of the head, and there's just something weird about the proportions, especially on the bracelet. I think the head of the watch is a bit more almost brutal, and it needs a more brutal bracelet. The design feels unfinished to me. Like when you see people holding this against the Nautilus, it looks a lot clunkier. The Nautilus is congruent. It all flows into each other. The design feels cohesive. This kind of looks like they stuck a Nautilus bracelet on a square watch head. I could be wrong. This is just how it looks from the pictures so far. I haven't seen one in the metal, so I don't know. I would have wished for it to be a bit smaller and a bit more cohesive feeling. Second thing I don't really like is the need for manual pushers on the platinum model. Oh my goodness, I cannot imagine having to make adjustments to this and the absolute ball achery. I feel like the Great Maison of Patek Philippe could create a movement where it all could be operated from the crown, or at the very least, toollessly adjustable. 3, the dial color on the 5821A being that specific olive green that was used on the anniversary 5711s kind of feels like a slap in the face to the VIPs who bought that model. I think different people will have different feelings on that. If I had that specific 5711, I wouldn't care. And if I did, I think my husband would tell me to use my 200,000 pound time only watch to dry my tears. Boo hoo, Brittany. But still, I can see why people feel disappointed. And for the price. Okay, so I completely understand that Patek Philippe entry-level prices will be different than Rolex entry-level, but it is a bit high. For example, the Aquanaut stainless steel on a bracelet retails for £24,200. I feel like these should be about £10,000 cheaper than they are to truly be entry-level Patek. But I should say, the Cubitus case resembles the Nautilus case a lot, which is a lot more complex than the Aquanaut case. That would be my only caveat. Does it cost £10,000 extra to produce that case? Absolutely not. The price is high. Some things I think others will be upset about, but I'm not really upset about. One, the clear inspiration from the Nautilus. This isn't a fault. This is the evolution, and I kind of love it. And two, the 30 meters of water resistance. Oh my gosh. If you've ever been deeper than 30 meters, then you can talk, then you can complain. If you haven't, and you have no plans on it, it might be time to let it go. I feel like a lot of watch fam will be negative about these because that's what we do. But honestly, I see what Patek is doing with the Cubitus, and I think it's a smart move for them. They needed that next movement in the stainless steel entry-level model, and I kind of like this. Please don't unsubscribe. Watch tastes and preferences are unique and highly personal to you, so there's no right or wrong answer, but I am bracing myself for the comments down below. All right, I'll see you down there. And now let's thank the patrons, the fabulous, gorgeous, wonderful Pope tier patrons.